signed into law by Obama last Thursday. Meanwhile, the Federal Aviation Administration called on state and local governments, as well as universities, to compete to be the location of one of 6 unmanned aircraft test sites the agency will operate as mandated by the 2012 FAA Reauthorization Act. The agency says it will use the sites to better understand the dangers and benefits of domestic drones before they're fully introduced to the national airspace system by, are you listening? 2015. First we get Obamacare fully implemented, and after a year, whoever's still alive through the crappy medical care we'll have to worry about drones overhead all the time. Excuse me. The FAA chief, Michael Hutera, said that, quote, "We expect to learn how unmanned aircraft systems operate in different environments and how they will impact air traffic operations. The test sites will inform the agency as we develop standards for certifying unmanned aircrafts and determining necessary air traffic requirements. Part of the mission for the test sites is to develop a set of certification standards and air traffic requirements for drones and to designate airspace for the unmanned aerial vehicles. According to some reports, government bodies in roughly 24 states have expressed interest in becoming drone research locations. The FAA has already authorized 106 federal, state, and local entities, including law enforcement agencies, regulators, and universities, to operate domestic drones. Current requirements, however, limit the size of the aircraft and how far they're allowed to fly. As a follow-up to the last Monday's episode, our primary rant was on the deaths of Christians throughout Africa as radical Islam runs wild. It seems that it's not just in Africa. Of course, we mentioned that it has been taking place on a much smaller scale outside of Africa and the Middle East, throughout Eastern Europe primarily, and it has crept into Western Europe on a few occasions. Well, just this past week, it actually hit the United States. A New Jersey Christian was beheaded by an Islamic extremist. New Jersey, ladies and gentlemen, New Jersey. Now that we've taken a moment for that to sink in, New Jersey. We have extremists beheading people because they're Christian here in the United States. Again, a call to all Americans to reach out and put an end to the threat that is extremist anything. I saw a little post on Facebook today that really kind of hit the nail on the head as far as this goes. God wants spiritual fruit, not religious nuts. If any of y'all need that explained, feel free to send me a message. Otherwise, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Now, we will get to the main topic of tonight's show immediately after our commercial break. Stay with us, and we'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Tap Into the Truth. I'm happy to have you back here after that brief commercial break. Thanks for listening. Thanks for staying with us. As we were talking about, today's primary topic is the Sequester, and the Hypocrites. Why would I name that the title of tonight's show, especially when addressing all the possible circumstances that are surrounding the Sequester? Well, because quite frankly, the media coverage has been ridiculous as everybody, surprise, surprise, has been siding with the propaganda that not only the occupier has been spewing over the last couple of weeks as he's been out there blaming the GOP for everything from smallpox to the reason his Starbucks was cold this morning, but the fact that also, surprise, surprise, other left-leaning liberals are jumping on board. The media, are they being honest with the reports? Are they letting you know exactly what it is that's going on? Of course they're not. Why would they? They have a vested interest in protecting the occupier. The same as, evidently, I'm beginning to think, the Supreme Court. After all, everything that has been an issue, from Obamacare to the so-called birther issues, that continues to make its way to the Supreme Court also continues to be dismissed, dismantled, or the illegitimate arguments of the left are being taken into account by the one pivotal, supposedly conservative justice that should be the stopgap in protecting the American people from flat-out socialism. Well, also chose the title partially because I came across a particular little article today, which really wasn't so much an article as much as it was just a few brief blurts here and there of examples of why the occupier is a hypocrite. Now, it was at the Independent Journal Review. They put up little photo ops and little items and what they called it. And feel free to Google this and take a look at it. I highly suggest the Independent Journal Review if anyone's looking for conservative-based news organization. The article, essentially, although, like I said, not really so much an article as a few little points here. 9 things that prove Obama is a hypocrite. Now, I'm here telling you there is no reason at all that anybody who's actually paying attention would need any more proof that the occupier is a hypocrite. But, the bottom line is he's not the only one when it comes to it. But let's address the 9 points that the Independent Journal Review made, and then we'll go on my little monologue for the remainder of the show. Number 1, and this is a biggie, transparency. How many of you guys remember that Obama, during his original campaign, swore up and down that his administration would be the most transparent administration in history? The man has issued more executive orders to keep things secret and issued more requests for protection for his people and to keep stuff that they had going on. More than W ever did, and he criticized W a lot. The way they put it in the article, Obama, and these are the facts, Obama did promise 5 days of public comment before signing bills, promised an end to closed-door negotiations, fiscal cliff, anybody, vowed to expose special interest tax breaks to public scrutiny, and said he would seek an independent watchdog agency to investigate congressional ethics violations. Has he done any of that? If any of you can find a single example of any of that having been done, then I will issue a public apology on that particular statement. But the bottom line is, even if you find one, there's tons of other examples when he has failed to live up to that promise. Their second point, drones and the war on terror. Then Senator Obama was extremely critical of then President George W. Bush. Blah, blah, blah. I'm getting a little tongue-tied. Not good for somebody who's trying to talk. Then Senator Barack Obama was extremely critical of then President George W. Bush's definition and deployment of the War on Terror, including the waterboarding techniques used for interrogation. But as the Wall Street Journal noted, the Obama administration doesn't arrest and interrogate suspected terrorists. It merely blows them away with missiles from the sky. Yeah, and again, part of last week's two major shows that's still getting play from folks that missed it. And for those of you who would like to go back and hear it, Obama Says He Can Kill People is still available in the back lot. Feel free to look at our archive shows. Obama thinks that it's okay for him to kill anybody he wants, including American citizens, without a trial, without a writ, without any of the things that for the past 200 plus years have been considered due process here in the United States. He wants to extend constitutional protections and rights to enemy combatants of foreign lands, but he thinks it's okay to just kill American citizens without due process. He's trying to get the courts to say, hey, guess what, Barack? Due process really is if you or one of your guys just thinks about it a while and approves attacking somebody. And if they are doing drones over the states, it's only a matter of time before these things go from just monitoring, just surveillance, until they're going to be fully weaponized and they will be used in active combat areas. Now, don't get me wrong. There may very well be times when that could be the thing to do. If you know that there's a group of people going somewhere, going to do some bad stuff, you've got the drone on them, and they'll be in a position to hurt innocent people before you can get agents on the ground to stop these people, maybe the best thing would be to blow somebody away with missiles from the sky. The argument can be made. But ultimately, American citizens are entitled to due process, and due process can never be allowed to be defined as high-ranking, this is directly from the memo, in case you're wondering, high-ranking government officials. They review the information and they give a kill order. That's not due process, ladies and gentlemen. It's not. But funny for a guy that was so critical of W, who rarely did it and never attacked citizens with it. The next point, super PACs. The occupier criticized the Republicans' use of super PACs in the last election cycle, saying, you got these guys writing $10 million checks. You got these super PACs that are just going crazy. But the pro-Obama super PAC, Priorities USA, which also accepted millions upon millions of dollars from donors, Bill Maher, ring a bell, went so far as to try to blame a woman dying from cancer on Mitt Romney. I don't know if any of you remember that particular ad, but they said, Bain Capital closed down this plant where I worked, and then my wife got sick, and because I had been laid off, I didn't have insurance anymore, and she died because she couldn't get the medical treatment she needed. Romney had left Bain Capital before that particular factory got bought out, and certainly had nothing to do with the decision to close it down, which it did not do immediately, for the record, either. For those of you who may not either A, remember the details of that particular storyline, or B, never heard about it in the first place. this was strictly campaign